The possession of a firearm here in the state, increases the burden of proof of possession of a weapon. It's a fantastic situation. We just got to stop these lawmakers from trying to mess with it. Here to talk a little bit more about that, we have first time on the program, Mr. Felix Normand is joining us on the phone, as well as friend of the program. We've got Tim Loggins back with us, both on the phone. Hello, gentlemen. How are you this morning?
Hello, Paul. How you doing?
All right. Yeah, I'm doing good. So the reason I wanted to have you guys on is because Leslie Rutledge, the Attorney General, has recently delivered an opinion. She responded to an opinion, and it had to do with enhanced carry. Now, we all know, we've covered extensively on this program, that the enhanced carry bill was garbage, is garbage, and I'd like to use...
It's Conduit News Radio.
more about that. We have first time on the program, Mr. Felix Normand is joining us on the phone, as well as friend of the program. We've got Tim Loggins back with us, both on the phone. Hello, gentlemen. How are you this morning?
Hello, Paul. How you doing?
All right. Yeah, I'm doing good. So the reason I wanted to have you guys on is because Leslie Rutledge, the Attorney General, has recently delivered an opinion. She responded to an opinion, and it had to do with enhanced carry. Now, we all know, we've covered extensively on this program, that the enhanced carry bill was garbage, is garbage. And I like to use that phrase because the entire thing was a really a mockery of the system. Politics got involved. People bent over backwards to try to protect Asa Hutchinson from having to veto a bill which would have exposed him as being anti-Second Amendment, which I think he is because he calls it a privilege and not a right. But specifically, now we know that this law, even the good things, or if you could even argue that there were good things that it was going to do, the Attorney General is now saying that public facilities that serve alcohol can now ban guns. And so I want to start with Mr. Felix.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to everyone listening. You have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality, where we are building a liberty machine. And if you want to be a part of that, one of the ways you can do that is to call us or text us, 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. We begin this morning with the tragedy out of Florida and the 17 students who were killed at a school there. The reports are that this killer was a troubled, well-known troubled student. He was an ex-student of the school. You have an interview with one of the students there who said everyone predicted that this would happen, being described as a dangerous creep. There's some speculation that he might have been inspired by ISIS, although we don't really have anything definitive of that. I will say that there is a photo of this killer circulating around the internet. I saw it on Facebook just, I guess, when I woke up, of him wearing, a communist hammer and sickle T-shirt. A lot of people always want to know, okay, what's the political ideology of this student, or this person or that person. The guy was 19 years old, so that immediately does have people looking into, okay, well, how did he vote and that sort of thing. But really, at this point, I mean, this guy is an evil monster for doing this. There's an interesting report on this over at, believe it or not, BuzzFeed. They're reporting that the FBI was warned about a school shooting threat from this guy whose name is Nicholas Cruz. Apparently, there was a YouTube user named Nicholas Cruz left a comment on a video stating, quote, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." The video's creator alerted both the FBI and YouTube. So, I mean, how with the assumed anonymity that everyone has when they comment on social media or YouTube or whatever, it's something very difficult to police. Donald Trump, President Trump, my prayers and condolences to the family of the victims of the terrible Florida shooting. No child, teacher, or anyone else should ever feel unsafe in an American school. Trump has spoken with Florida Governor Rick Scott and the Broward County Sheriff's Office. Now, the Broward County Sheriff's Office have arrested the suspect in the shooting. Now, this is a rare thing. A lot of times, these guys they go nuts. They kill a bunch of people. 17 people. 17. They go nuts, and then they kill themselves, or they're killed by the police. When the police get there and enter the building. That did not happen this time. Apparently, according to the reports that I read last night before I hit the sack, was that he snuck out. Initially, had snuck out with the students that were exiting the building in horror and panic, and just trying to get to safety. Of course, you've also heard the reports. I don't know if you have, but the police that actually arrived on the scene afterwards and found the massacre there, how it was extremely difficult for them because of just the fact of all of the blood, all of the bodies, and all of the cell phones that were ringing, presumably from their parents trying to get an answer. Tragedy doesn't really even begin to describe this situation. And this is predictably, we now have people on the left immediately calling for gun control. Just immediately, this is the knee-jerk reaction is, hey, okay, we have to solve this problem, and the answer is diminishing Second Amendment rights. And it's just I'm exhausted from it. I mean, I'm so tired. I don't even want to go down this road with him about gun-free zones. You know what I mean? Our argument it's ridiculous that we do this every single time. And I have my pro Second Amendment views, and on gun-free zones, and as well as on just the idea that that a criminal is all of a sudden okay. That a criminal's not going to have access to guns when the rest of us law-abiding citizens will abide by the law and will be helpless and will be more vulnerable to harm. I mean, I don't know about you. Is anybody else out there sick of this stuff? I mean, when a tragedy like this happens, and it is a tragedy. But is anyone sick of it, if it just being this, the liberals are immediately going to say this because they don't they think it's that it's the gun's problem, that it's not this person. I mean, now think about this. What's the larger problem here, the gun or the fact that everybody knew this guy was going to do what he did? I mean, if you're reading these headlines, everybody knew that this guy was going to do what he did. If anything, it's we need to have reforms in our mental health laws, or you know what I'm saying, or being able to report people who are clearly insane. I mean, I would much rather have that debate than what the left wants to do. But see, the left doesn't want to say that it's a culture problem, it's a people problem, it's that we're morally bankrupt, or we're more so than we were, and that's why this is happening with our kids. And all of this stuff has been predicted by people for a long time. When it comes to just the degradation, the moral degradation, the eventual, you got to have metal detectors, and of course now we do have metal detectors in a lot of schools. But anyway, I just want to say, and I know I basically got into it, anyway, I just wanted to say that it is a tragedy, and that my thoughts and my prayers are with the people, the families, that community. And I was seeing that all across and I know the left hates that, right? We can't even say that. It's so hard not to be political when, if you say that we're praying for someone, you're ridiculed and mocked by the left. Well, what's that going to do? Well, I believe in God, so I believe in the power of prayer. And so, anyway, we will follow the story as it develops, but that's where we start today, this morning, and it's not a good place to start. It's a terrible, 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 terrible tragedy, and we will keep you updated as there may be some stuff that breaks, before the show's over today. Folks, again, the telephone number 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. We have an interesting. We covered this at the end of the program yesterday. It's an interesting development. A couple of weeks ago. No. This was before Christmas. Before Christmas, I think they were going through some pre-budgetary hearings before the fiscal session that started on Monday. And Cindy Gillespie, according to reports, she was asked if the less people that are on Arkansas Works, if there are less people that are on this government program, does that mean the state saves money? Her response was, yeah, the less people on the program is better financially for the state. Well, so then that got lawmakers asking the question, well, what would happen if we were to end it together? I mean, if less people means less money that we have to spend, then logically, in Realville, if you ended the program, then we would have more money to spend. We would it would be better off financially for the state, just from a dollars and cents standpoint. Well, so the governor's office has gotten back and gotten on his propaganda team together, and their response is the opposite. Their response is that if we end the program, it's going to cost us money. If we end a welfare program where we give away free stuff, it's going to cost us money. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to go over this sheet. I've got this little propaganda sheet. We'll go over it and just kind of talk about what they're actually arguing, how insane it is. But my prediction, the Republican Party establishment and the rank and file will eat it up. They'll digest it, and they will tell their constituents that this is the conservative thing to do, We have to continue with the largest expansion of government in Arkansas history. And if we get rid of the largest expansion of government in Arkansas history, they were going to say we will lose money. It's preposterous, just like the administration of Asa Hutchinson. Back in just a moment.
This is Mother Government. My people. The promised revenue gathering to fund my motherly goals, such as the Arkansas Works, Obamacare, private option has commenced. I have asked my representatives and senators to execute my will concerning new revenues from the tires you use to drive on my roads, the candy and sodas you consume and purchase in my stores, and the digital products you download on my internet. Your sacrifices and tributes, which are owed, display a measure of obedience, but there are still collectible sacrifices I require from the people to increase the work and size of our great government of Arkansas. There are two matters left unresolved. 1. I require a general tribute for all purchases made on my internet. Not just digital products, but all products. My dear children, there are those who would thwart my motherly goals of progress. If you see them, please combat their misguided notions of freedom by using phrases like mom and pop, and tax cheat. 2. I still require more revenue sacrifices concerning
The possession of a firearm here in the state, increases the burden of proof of possession of a weapon. It's a fantastic situation. We just got to stop these lawmakers from trying to mess with it. Here to talk a little bit more about that, we have first time on the program, Mr. Felix Normand is joining us on the phone, as well as friend of the program. We've got Tim Loggins back with us, both on the phone. Hello, gentlemen. How are you this morning?
Hello, Paul. How you doing?
All right. Yeah, I'm doing good. So the reason I want to have you guys on is because Leslie Rutledge, the Attorney General, has recently delivered an opinion. She responded to an opinion, and it had to do with enhanced carry. Now, we all know, we've covered extensively on this program, that the enhanced carry bill was garbage, is garbage, and I'd like to use...
It's Conduit News Radio.
more about that. We have first time on the program, Mr. Felix Normand is joining us on the phone, as well as friend of the program. We've got Tim Loggins back with us, both on the phone. Hello, gentlemen. How are you this morning? About it, because if the more people that know, they're going to start making different choices when it comes to voting for some of these people. The media is against us. The establishment Republicans are against us. The Democrats are against us. We do not have a government that accurately reflects what the people have been voting for since 2010. They have campaigned on a certain platform, and then they have made up excuses as to why they can't implement it. And case in point, we get a piece of propaganda from the governor's office telling us that once again, the sky is going to fall. It is the new truth. The sky is going to fall if we don't keep a welfare program for able-to-work adults, if we don't keep the largest expansion of government in Arkansas history. After his DHS secretary, Cindy Gillespie, who's here on assignment from an international law firm called Denton's, she's the DHS secretary, and she admitted that the less people on the program, the more money the state of Arkansas saves, which means people said, well, how much will we save if we end the program altogether? That sounds like a logical question that you would ask as an inquiring legislator, as someone who's trying to get the facts, get the data so you can make an informed decision, and they knew they were caught. And so now they've come out with this propaganda. Currently, Arkansas Works covers 200. Show this up there, Joe, if you don't mind. The elimination of Arkansas Works, they say, which currently covers 285,000 Arkansans, would cut $2.09 billion from the state's economy. You mean the $2 billion that's going to insurance companies? Is that what you mean? Oh, not all of it's going to insurance companies. Some of it's getting funneled back into you guys' campaigns. Oh, yeah. You think the $2.09 billion benefit to our economy? Is it more of a benefit to our economy, or Blue Cross Blue Shield, or the politicians, or the lobbyists that get paid to make sure the program continues so they keep their tax? I mean, whose economy are we talking about? We talking about the working guy right now that's driving to work, listening to this, getting outraged? Don't get too mad. You just got to tell everybody in your sphere of influence about it at the water cooler or wherever it is you're working. First of all, thank you for working and being a contributing member of society. You need to tell your politicians, you need to tell them to start thinking more about you, and let's quit incentivizing people to be able to not work and just get free stuff. $2.09 billion from the economy. Where's that money really going? Does it wind up in a campaign account? Does it wind up in a political action committee that's gonna make sure somebody stays in the office of governor? I mean, where's that 2.9? It's an economic stimulus, they say. Our state depends on it. Oh, is it going to go to hospitals? Oh, what do you think they do that money? Do you think hospitals don't lobby? Is it going to go to hospitals that claim losses that are dishonest? Honestly, I've got a bone to pick with you hospital people, and this is I love what you do. I love the workers, but as far as the administration goes, the way you calculate your losses is misleading, and it actually is immoral because it's costing the taxpayers more money. Because what you say is your uncompensated care loss is not your actual loss, and anybody that dives into the numbers figures that out. But you guys put put these phony numbers out, also claiming the sky is going to fall. And everybody believes you, because why would a hospital administrator, or why would you guys lie to us? Well, because you guys want the money just like any other fleshly fallen human being would. This is propaganda you're looking at, folks. Welcome to the show. For the state alone, the cost of eliminating Arkansas Works, they say, is estimated to be an additional $88.6 million in general revenue. Now, how can that be? How can Cindy Gillespie, in front of a legislative committee, a legislative body, how can she say the less people on this welfare program, the better it is for the state financially? And now they say if we end the program, no, it's going to hurt the state budgetarily, not just economically with the $2 billion in our economy, but it's going to hurt the state budget. We're going to have a budget shortfall now. By that logic, Asa Hutchinson should lobby for all of us to be put on Medicaid expansion so that we can have a budgetary utopia in this state. Taking their conclusions to, or taking their positions to the logical conclusions, everybody should be put on Medicaid. Every one of us should be put on Medicaid because apparently that's how you prosper. Apparently that's what's good for the state if everybody goes on Medicaid. They are claiming, and this is why Ace is not a conservative. This is why he is a progressive liberal, because of this kind of doublespeak that makes no sense to any business. It makes no sense to any person that's wants to think about this logically. The less people on the program, the better it is for the state financially. But if we were to end it all together, if we were to end the largest expansion of government in Arkansas history, a welfare program, if we were to end a program that gives away stuff for free that costs money, but we give it away for free, if we were to do that, it would cost us money. How do this makes absolutely no sense if you just look at what they're trying to sell the General Assembly. You guys are not looked at as individuals. You guys are not respected. The General Assembly is not respected by its governor. You guys are looked at like just little mines for melding, and you will believe anything that you're given. And I would call on you to just say, no, this doesn't make sense. We're not going to say that 2 + 2 is 5, Governor. We're not going to do it. I know you want us to, and I know you have this nice little sheet of propaganda before us, and you want us to admit 2 + 2 = 5. Or you want to say, what's that great The Next Generation, that Star Trek episode with Captain Jean-Luc Picard? You got Patrick Stewart, and he's kidnapped, and there are 4 lights. And they say, no, there are 5 lights. And they starve him. They give him sleep deprivation. And there's only 4 lights. And how many lights are there? Just tell me there's 5 lights. And he says, no. And it's very painful. He says, I'm not. There are 4 lights. There are 4 lights. Anyway, for all of you science fiction nerds, you know what I'm talking about. But for your non-science fiction nerds, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. So let's just stick with a 2 + 2 = 5. 2 + 2 does not equal 5. Even though the governor is saying, please just say it. No, come on, agree. Give me your vote. 2 + 2 is 5. Please, just say it. I'm just asking you guys to say, no, it's not. The people of Arkansas deserve so much better than this, and we are in serious trouble, folks. We are in serious trouble if we continue this system. And the status quo lobbyists, the monolith, the big business that wants taxpayer money to subsidize, this is not the way things need to be done. Just because it's the way they have been done for a long time doesn't mean that's the way they need to continue to be done. We're going to take a break. You're listening to Conduit News Radio. I'm Paul Harrell. Back in a moment. Norman. Felix, what can you tell us about this opinion, and how do you interpret it?
Well, I'm going to say that she was replying to a letter from Senator Bill Sample out of Hot Springs of 2 questions he asked her specifically about banning, whether you could ban alcohol from a public facility that's serving it, because we all know a public facility is really a government facility that's serving alcohol. The enhanced was supposed to allow you to go into a public facility, but now they're saying you can ban somebody if you're selling alcohol there. So it makes the enhanced useless in that respect.
Okay, so in that respect, you're saying it's useless. So where tell us about where do you disagree with the opinion, Felix? I mean, you obviously. Let me ask you this, Felix. First time on the show, what do you think in general of what the enhanced carry law was or is?
Well, I got an article right here from back in March when it was first signed by the governor. This is a governor signed sweeping gun rights measures into law on Wednesday that will allow concealed handguns at state colleges, some bars, government buildings, and even the state capitol. This is right from the news article from the AP. But yet, we see as it goes on, they're slowly restricting the places they said the enhanced carry was supposed to allow us to go into to begin with.
Tim.
Also, when they talk about alcohol sales, when you hear it discussed as a topic, they almost always use the term alcohol sales, but they don't specify the difference between alcohol sales in a bar versus alcohol sales in a restaurant. They kind of cut that off to make it sound like all alcohol sales places are forbidden for handguns to be.
So, Tim, what's your take on this this new development? Tim, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. What's your take on this new development, Tim Loggins?
It just kind of confirms everything the patriots have been saying, for a year now. Enhanced is garbage. This opinion by the AG says public and private and the carry of a weapon was just a simple sign. What it boils down to.
Hey, Tim. Hey, can you get to a better location, maybe where we get a better signal, or maybe kind of move around because we're kind of losing you right there. That'd be good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. This just confirms everything we've been saying all.
Need your daily news fix? Don't forget to tune in to Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
It's so frustrating, But hey, you know what? The truth is available to these people. Let's not pretend they are not without excuse. They really have no excuse here. The truth is available to them. The first thing about this propaganda, and I'm going to move on here in a minute. Hey, by the way, Joe, how is the smell? Is it better in there? Folks, we thought we had a natural gas leak in the studio yesterday. I came in yesterday, and it was just, I walked into the studio. That's why the door is still open. You can kind of see at facebook.com/Conduit News. You can see the water cooler back there in the station. I came in, it was like I hit a wall, and I was like, wow, that smells like natural gas. So we did the show anyway. We probably shouldn't have yesterday, because if it was natural gas, the odor in here, we've got a ton of electronics in here. That's what they say. Don't answer your cell phone, or don't call about the natural gas leak until you've, gotten a safe distance away. But I kind of alerted everybody. We got off the air at 8, and I alerted everyone, and I said, we've got an issue. And so then they get the guy out here, and there's no natural gas in here. It doesn't tests, negative or whatever. But they basically conclude that there's a critter somewhere that has passed away. So locating this critter, on the other hand, has not been a successful effort, or maybe even an effort at all, to find this critter and take him out. So we've got a candle lit, or her. Yeah, I'm sorry. Or maybe it's an inquisitive, inquiring rat. Maybe it's a they. You think there's more than one dead rat? What is? The gender-neutral term is they?
Yeah, when speaking in general neutral terminology, they is the correct verbiage or correct pronouns to be used. That I'm not even joking.
No, hang on a second. So how would you? Am I wrong? Would the sentence be grammatically incorrect? Then, no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be grammatically incorrect. So if you were to say, or her, okay. So if I were to say, because you corrected me, I said that there's a dead rat and he's a dead rat, and you said or her, and like I said or her. So I should have said or they. I mean, if we were
maybe, I don't know.
or they,
I don't.
or they.
I don't pretend. I'm not going to pretend to understand gender fluidity terminology.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would like to, just so I could specifically point out the absurdity. But I think everybody knows.
We can cover a segment on it tomorrow.
Okay, let's do it. I'd like that. Anyway, what flavor is that candle?
It is soothing vanilla.
So, Joe, the governor's propaganda says that $2.09 billion gets taken out of the economy if they end Arkansas Works. And then they say it's going to cost us budgetarily $80-something million. This is really weird because they admitted that less people on the program saves us money, but if we get rid of the program now, it's going to cost us money. But let's take that $2 billion. During the break, you were saying the $2 billion, I made this point earlier that it's really going, what kind of economic stimulus are we really talking about here? Where's that money really going?
Well, and I was trying to figure out where the money was coming from as well.
The feds and our little bitty portion, but the feds, it's a $2 billion a year program.
Since it's coming from the feds, if we didn't have this program, that $2 billion would never come to Arkansas. But like you said, it would not come here if we didn't have this program. But look at where it's going. It's going, instead to grease the cogs of the machine that is our economy, it's going to grease the palms of lobbyists down in Little Rock.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's not really any sort of it's not what they claim it is.
It's not an economic stimulus package.
No, it's not. They want to, but you're making Blue Cross Blue Shield rich, and that's going to help you guys how?
Yeah, I don't think you can accurately take this $2 billion and spin it as it's an economic stimulus package to stimulate the economy.
Yeah,
I don't think
helps
you can spin
the
it that
economy.
way.
How that helps the small business owner? How most people can't stand their insurance companies. Most people can't stand them, and we're gonna let's just make Blue Cross Blue Shield rich.
Yeah.
I had a theory. I haven't looked this up, so this could be completely wrong. But I was thinking the other day. If you were able to buy insurance and stuff state lines, if you were able to do that, would that mean that Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is an outfit that really is based out of Chicago, I believe, that's why they fit in so well here in Arkansas. I think it's that whole Al Capone thing. But the it's an outfit out of Chicago, so if you could buy across state lines, would there all of a sudden, would you be subject to monopoly laws? This is an honest question that I have. Would these giant insurance companies be subject to monopoly laws and regulations and I don't know, but something tells me, I just have this hunch that the answer would be yes, if you were to be able to buy across state lines. Yeah, anyway. That's just interesting. Can we go through more of this real quick? Let's go through a little bit more before we move on to something else here. I would expect, by the way, a point-by-point rebuttal of all of this stuff, this propaganda, the impact of Arkansas Works on the state's economy and the state's budget. Newsflash. It is, just to summarize, Asa Hutchinson and the boys, they want you to think that this will destroy, that if we were to get rid of the largest expansion of government, it's going to destroy Arkansas, when in fact the opposite is true. This is destroying our budget and any hopes of real conservative reforms. And you know what the position is? All right, Paul, what would you do with Arkansas Works? Well, at the very least, you should cap enrollment right now, so it's never grows higher than it is right now. That's the first thing you should do is cap enrollment. They don't want to do that. No. The work requirements. It's unbelievable. All right, they're not work requirements, by the way. If you look into it, it's just a bunch of spin. Of course, the governor said the other day that they're stringent. He said during his speech that the work requirements are quote stringent. No, they're not. They're totally weak. See, the whole buzzword, the phrase of a work requirement, it's like, yeah, because I'm working, so if you're going to take where you should work. And basically psychologically, what comes into my mind when you hear stuff like that, comes into your mind is a black and white line. Are you working? Okay, good. Are you not? Okay, you're not. You're working, you get the free stuff. You're not working, you don't get it. But then there's all these loopholes and exemptions. And it's really frustrating. Asa wants the credit of some black and white, this is how it is. But that's not who he is. He's a fence rider. He always has been a fence rider. There is no black and white work requirement. There's just a ton of gray and a ton of opportunity for the taxpayers to continue footing this bill.
There's no red and blue in Asa. He's all purple.
He is all purple. Or I mean, gosh, I don't know. There's some blue in him. Let me tell you. I mean, at this point, the way the political landscape looks, and if you really know what the people of America are fighting, the people of the entire country are fighting. You look at what we're trying to say. We want D.C. to get off our backs. We want the swamp drained. We have a much worse situation in many cases in Little Rock because most Arkansans don't even know there's a swamp in Little Rock because they're not. It's just not being reported on.
But Paul,
I think Asa is the type of person that the average Americans would point to as say you're the problem.
But Paul, I think your right-leaning terminology and ideology are really preventing you from seeing the bigger picture here.
Okay.
That Asa is trying to lay out in front of us.
Okay. All right.
Just come on. Open your eyes.
Open my eyes. So
see all this money he's bringing into the I'm sorry, I can't.
You can't do this.
I can't.
Okay. You can't keep up the ruse. Well, it's $2 billion, Yeah, it's not about greasing the economy, it's about greasing the insurance companies, but again, the insurance companies are taking that money and giving it and other Medicaid entities. I mean, seriously. Senator Brian King's Medicaid disclosure law has failed, 5 times? In some circumstances, either at a committee level or, 5 times? 4 or 5 times? He's tried, I think, twice at the Arkansas Legislative Council. I think he tried at least twice in the full General Assembly. All this would require, and think about this, all this would require is that if you're a politician, if you're an elected official, and you're doing business with a Medicaid entity, the people have to know about it. There's nothing illegal. There's nothing, but as far as a rule, you have to disclose it because the people may want to know if that's affecting your vote, that's affecting what you do. And it's failed multiple times. And the reasons that people give is that it's too broad. One state representative, Michelle Gray from Melbourne, State Representative Michelle Gray, she was against the Medicaid disclosure bill last year, and in the same argument, okay, in the same session, she said she was against it because the bill's too broad, and then she said she was against it because the bill's too narrow. I kid you not. She argued that the bill was too broad and too narrow. Anyway, the interesting thing with all of this is that this is not about necessarily any sort of economic stimulus as much as it is these guys are consultants. If you have a lawn care company and you're a state representative and you get a contract with, let's say, a university campus, a publicly funded university campus to cut their grass, you have to tell people about it. You just have to disclose it. You say, hey, I'm a politician, and I do have this contract to cut the grass of this university here in Arkansas. Why don't you have to do that with Medicaid money? Why don't you have to do that? It's the only sector. It's the only sector in Arkansas that you don't have to do that with. So something weird's going on, especially when you look at the General Improvement Fund scams, how it's moved into Medicaid fraud investigations, and you look at what happened with Preferred Family Health Care up in Missouri. You look at what's going on with the FBI investigations. There's a lot of legislators who have become consultants for Medicaid entities. And that is where this $2 billion hit Ace is saying $2 billion sucked out of our state's economy. Just where do you think that $2 billion is going? It's going to insurance companies. It's going to Medicaid entities. And those Medicaid entities are doing something with that money. Hey, you know, you look like you'd be a great consultant for my Medicaid company. How much money do you want? Every journalist in the state should be suspicious of this going on right now. And it's all connected to this program that Asa Hutchinson is wanting to keep. The question is, why are Republicans going to fight tooth and nail to keep a socialist health care program from a socialist president? That's the question. Why are Republicans going to fight tooth and nail to keep a socialist health care program from a socialist president? Why are they doing that right now as we speak, putting out this bogus propaganda? And it's all about the money. It's all about the money. Why did Republicans do this in the first place? Say, Paul, why? Why did they do this in the first place? Why did they lead us down this path, and they continue to lead down this path? Well, it's about the money. Let me explain it to you. You know this $2 billion they're talking about? See, in 2012, before we got the $2 billion a year, in 2012, Republicans ran against Obamacare and against Medicaid expansion. They ran against it. They said, no, we're not going to do it. And then they got into power. And so how do you get somebody who's campaigned for against something to go against their word? Well, you have to pay them to do it. You have to pay them to do it. And that's what's happened. You can go and look at campaign financials of what a Senate seat used to cost. You could run for Senate here in Arkansas, $150,000. Now you're getting $300,000 for that Senate seat. You're raising $300,000, and then you look at the health care PACs. You look at the Arkansas health care PACs. You look at the non-Arkansas out-of-state health care PACs. The amount of money that came pouring into these Republican politician coffers after they voted for Medicaid expansion in 2013 is unmistakable. It's numbers. It's mathematics, and you can't argue with it. Why did they do it? For the money. Why are they fighting tooth and nail for it? For the money. They're now claiming it's an economic stimulus for them. It's an economic stimulus for Little Rock, for Blue Cross Blue Shield, for hospitals, and all of the lobbyists that get rich off of a guaranteed taxpayer-funded revenue stream to businesses. Now, do you get a guaranteed taxpayer-funded revenue stream to your business? No. Why should they? It's that simple. Asa Hutchinson is not a conservative. He is not leading us down a path of prosperity and true economic development. The reason we haven't been able to cut taxes the way we should have is because we are financially obligated to pay for all this. They will never admit it, and instead they will demagogue and they'll say, we've got to fund roads, we've got to fund police and fire. When they run out of money, they will never say it's because of Medicaid expansion. They'll say the police, the fire. They will use pain point politics. They will use emotion-based arguments instead of logic and reason. And I know the General Assembly guys. I know you guys don't like me a lot because I mean the truth makes you miserable. Now, not all of you. I mean, we've got great conservatives down there, but I'm just telling you, any of you who are on the fence and you're tired of just being led around by the nose by a leadership that doesn't really respect you and gives you bogus talking points, they're asking you to believe that a welfare program for able-to-work adults, that if we end it, it's going to cost us money, when they just admitted that the less people on the program saves us money. By that logic, everybody should be put on Medicaid expansion so that we can be in a utopia, an Arkansas utopia of Bill Clinton's best dream. Let's go to break. We'll be back in just a moment. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
It's a PHP parody.
Hey, man, you got any of that marble rock?
Yeah, I've got the hookup.
Thanks. I need a fix real bad. I'm itching to grow some government.
How much you need?
I'm gonna need a taxpayer's dime bag.
No problem, sir. 1 taxpayer dime of marble rock. Enjoy.
Thanks, man. They don't call it Little Rock for nothing. Am I right?
Did you know your state representative or state senator may be addicted to growing government? The drug is called marble rock, and too much of it will cause marble fever. Watch for the warning signs. Does your legislator suddenly display a lack of humility when faced with basic questions? Does he or she suddenly develop hubris and pride that was not present during the campaign for office? These are signs they might be smoking the terrible drug, marble rock. The solution? Detox. Vote for detox. Vote to send them home for their own good. Warning! Some politicians once voted out of office will not go home and stay in Little Rock to get their fix by lobbying, also known as the Burris Syndrome.
PHP parody.
Determined to drain the swamp in Little Rock, it's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, so the much-anticipated Marvel movie Black Panther is coming out tonight, right, this evening, Joe. You're going to be in attendance, I'm told. You're going to go see it. I have a 7-month-old child, so I haven't been to the movie. Well, it's just been it seems like forever. I think I did go to.
Been to the cinema.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I love the movies, and I'm having withdrawals, but we just don't get out very much. But anyway, so this movie though, right? It's what's it gonna be like? I'm so. Let me just say, I'm kind of hesitant. Everybody's saying how good it is, but in this day and age, I never know if it's going to be some subtle political agenda that I'm force fed. You know,
that's the one thing I'm kind of concerned about, if it's going to be that. But from what I can see from the trailers and stuff, and the trailers aren't always, you don't always get what you see in a trailer. There's always things you miss. There's always things that are hidden and things that are veiled within the trailers. But going purely on the trailers and what I've seen from those, because I haven't been. This is one movie I have not dug into after seeing a few of the trailers. I didn't want to. Because I wanted to be completely.
Why? Because it's the Black Panther, Joe.
No,
is that
I wanted
why?
to be completely surprised by this movie. I want this movie to do very well because it looks good.
Yeah.
I think the movie itself is going to have its comedical jabs throughout the entire movie, from character to character, because they have all of the characters, the main characters at least, have personal relationships with each other in some way, shape, or form, whether it be familial ties or best friends. old rivals, stuff like that. I think the movie from top to bottom is going to be pretty good. The action sequences that I've seen in the commercials look really good, look amazing. And I think the comedy behind everything is going to be really funny, too.
Well, the one the review that I saw said, it's just really an Africa-focused movie, and how, it just makes you sad that Africa's kind of a lost continent. And I don't know. They just say they're saying it's not a great movie, that it's a great film, which is strange. But I would say I don't think Marvel's going to go down the force-fed social justice warrior thing. I think it's going to be a different, because they haven't before. I mean, if you look at what they've done in the past, anytime they do get political, it's like they had the one Captain America movie where they exposed the surveillance state, and it was totally like the government's going to spy on everybody. And then if you look at the Civil War one, that was over basically them. Are they going to kowtow to the United Nations? Or are they going to maintain their independence? And essentially, no. I mean, Captain America said, no, I'm not going to kowtow to you guys. I'm an individual, and I'm not going to go along with this globalist scheme. Of course, Tony Stark, that was the whole Civil War. He disagreed. But I think those are good. If they do get mildly political, I think those are really good general things to debate in a movie. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We could.
They've got Halloween costumes already coming out, and there's articles being written. This is why I'm nervous. There's articles being written already. Can a white kid wear a Black Panther costume?
Oh.
Is that racist? And I'm like, come on, are you serious?
Okay, now that you bring this up, I saw an article. It was late last night. I was getting ready to go to bed, and I stumbled across this. I didn't read it, and I should have, but it was an article saying, when is it okay for white people to go see Black Panther?
Yeah.
And I was
okay. So it's like
that's absurd. It's a movie.
It started with Wonder Woman when they had these all-female screenings of Wonder Woman because they were so excited. We finally get a female superhero,
which is highly unconstitutional,
which is totally sexist. And then it's like you have this stuff, and it's I don't know, man. Like that's why I'm thinking, well, what's really in this movie?
It's like, well,
I
well, let's put it this way. People are wondering when it's okay for white people to go see Black Panther. I'm going to go see it at the very first showing tonight, 7 o'clock
so you're
at the movie theater.
So the answer is, this is America anytime you want.
Yes.
Go see
this
the
is
movie.
America anytime you want. And it's a superhero movie. Nerds are going to come out in droves. Come on, people.
Yeah. All right, folks, we got one more hour coming your way next. Newsflash to all of you at the Marble Palace or driving to the Marble Palace today. I'm just letting you know, this fiscal session, you guys don't need to buy this propaganda telling you the sky's going to fall and the great economic benefits of Arkansas Works. How can that possibly be, folks? Just ask them, why don't we put everybody on Medicaid expansion if it's so good for the state? And then, of course, they're going to say, well, you're not an intellectual Republican. Yeah, okay. We've got to go to a break. One more hour coming your way next.
The news and talk of Northeast Arkansas. This is News Talk, 101.3 FM and 12:30 AM KBTM, Jonesboro, an EAB radio station.
Long, it's garbage. Remember, this was a campus carrier bill when it started, and it got hijacked. And as soon as they passed it, they already had amendments to gut it. Mm-hmm. And this just confirms it. I mean, the 122, the 573, 122 restricted places, they said it would allow us to carry on if you had the enhanced. The AG just basically gutted that. If a library puts up a sign and says no weapons, guess what? It doesn't matter if you have it enhanced or not. If any restaurant, any private facility, any public facility, the things that they said and argued all along weren't true, we were right.
Wow. So that is something to behold here, because this was originally a very simple idea from Charlie Collins. And I know Charlie is still out there talking about how great this law is and what a great job he did. And it's because, quite frankly, loyalty to the governor and favor with him actually trumped what his original goal was. And that's just my opinion. But Charlie just wanted professors to be able to carry, if you already had your permission slip, which you don't need, but if you already had just a regular concealed handgun license, the first tier now, and you were a college professor, you'd be able to carry on campus. Very, very simple. The governor doesn't like that because he wanted, I guess more training. He said he doesn't trust the professors with their guns. And then State Representative Bob Ballinger came along with a solution to have a special permit from the government, which I disagree with. And they went along with that idea. And now we have what we have, which we have the instructors who are all messed up, and I know they're trying to now quote even maybe fix it in the special session and that sort of thing. What do you guys know about that fix, by the way? Because they are talking about trying to fix something for instructors in the fiscal session.
Paul, go ahead, Felix.
Well, like I say, I have a copy here. So far, one of the things I think they're going to amend was, instead of calling it a, what was the term they used? I can't find my document here. Anyway, I have the draft copy of it so far. Of course, they're going to amend that, change some of the wording a little bit as far as we know. One of the things they wanted to change was the way it was originally worded is every instructor had to be able to teach the enhanced class. In other words, every instructor had to be enhanced trained themselves. Well, some instructors don't want to be enhanced trained. Well, the way it's worded, then unless they're enhanced trained, they can't teach at all. So if they can't teach, in other words, then we'll be losing all these instructors. And I know some instructors who said, like, I don't even think I could do it. Some of these gentlemen are older, and they can't do the move and sway and whatever is required of the class itself. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing they want to fix. They want to fix it where if you want to teach enhanced, you can. If you don't, then that's fine too.
Yeah, and that's just an example of how this whole thing, they didn't think any of the stuff they were doing through. The only thing that was primary was, what does the governor want? We don't want to put something on his desk where he's going to veto it and expose himself as not being for the Second Amendment. All of this was political contortion. Now, Tim Loggins, you respond to this supposed fix.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and call upon Representative Bob Ballinger and all of our elected officials that if you want to fix this, repeal it. Because what you've done is you've manufactured more confusion and you have legislated more infringements. You're not helping advance gun rights at all with this legislation. And I know that I'm right because they're still arguing about this bill 1 year after it passed. Even the legislators are arguing about what it means, how to implement it. It was a rush deal. It was not normal process. They didn't follow the normal rules. And if you want to fix it, repeal it. Start all over. Remember, this was campus carry. We've gotten so far away from the intent of the bill, it's not even funny. I mean, it's sad.
Yeah, it really is. So let's get back to this AG opinion real quick. Leslie Rutledge coming out, saying, "Hey, look, saying even if you do have the enhanced carry, you're not. What does it say specifically that you're not going to be able to use this enhanced permit at public places that serve alcohol, Felix, and what?"
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
All right, folks, welcome. Thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. Let's see here. We made this thing about Bill Clinton's utopia. We have a text message. Give us your name and county when you text in, if you don't mind. I'm pretty sure Bill Clinton's dream utopia would be against federal law still. And he's and he says, unless his dream constitutional reforms come to pass, I wonder if Uncle Asa has those same inclinations. Well, thank you, listener, for listening and responding. Okay, here. We have any more text from last hour? Let me look here. There are 2 lights. LOL. That's funny. There are 4 lights. See, could be a transgender squirrel. About the dead rat in our studio. JD from Yell County writes, it could be a transgender squirrel. Okay, well, there we go. Transgender squirrel. I love it. Hey, feel free, folks. Send me a text message, 870-275-9799. Or you can give us a phone call. You can also sound off and watch us live on Facebook, facebook.com/Conduit News. That's facebook.com/Conduit News. We did have a friendly call from a guy who was telling us that the dead rat may very well be a melted outlet.
Yeah, we had an electrician call who said that he actually dealt with this the other day. For gas smell can also a similar smell can be produced from a melting outlet or something like that.
And he said that because we said we got a lot of electronics in here. I mean, obviously we're radio studio, so a lot of stuff. Yeah, I don't think it's that. Just because the natural gas smell has gone away and it's now just rotting flesh, for the most part. But yesterday, when we walked in, I mean, I had multiple people say, "Yeah, we have a gas leak," and then by noon it was clear, okay, that's not a gas leak. That's a rotting carcass somewhere. So,
yeah.
But we appreciate his concern. That's good to know that natural gas smell could also be from an outlet that's melting.
Yeah. Real quick, back up for a second on the transgender squirrel thing.
Yeah. We didn't know with the gender of the rat.
Yeah. Something that I remember just clicked into my head, like when he said that the him/her pronouns for the generic genders, the new pronouns is that they say when they want to talk about the different pronouns, it's they them instead of him/her, they them.
Okay, because you're both. So I mean, how is that
for those
not,
who don't want to be identified as?
How are they not embracing some form of schizophrenia? Like I'm. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay, so if we're gonna get
no, you're one person. No, I'm not.
If real quick we're gonna get into this, then okay, so so the technical term for anyone who does not identify as the gender that they are, so male identifying as a female, quote unquote, is technically called gender dysmorphia.
Yes.
And there is a book called the DSM-5, which is, correct me if I'm wrong on the letters, but I'm pretty sure it's the DSM-5, and it is the handbook for psychological diagnosis. And gender dysmorphia has been in there for years.
Yeah.
And is still in there to this day. They have not taken it out.
But that's now considered hate speech to bring that up.
Absolutely it is.
I mean, it's not. But it's considered hate speech.
For those of you who are listening in general, because no one can see my face. If you could see my face, it's so full of hate right now.
Okay, yeah, because you're just a hateful
All
guy.
my speech is turning my face into a hateful look.
Hey, so Senator Tom Cotton is asking some very important questions. Senator Tom Cotton on the Hill. This was him questioning Christopher Wray, the FBI director. This is the headline, real quick, from the Gateway Pundit. Boom, Senator Tom Cotton asks FBI Director Wray if dossier author was employed by Putin-linked oligarch. Wray won't answer. Listen to Senator Tom Cotton represent you.
Mr. Wray, are you aware of a gentleman by the name of Oleg Deripaska?
I've heard the name.
Is it fair to call him a Putin-linked Russian oligarch?
Well, I'll leave that characterization to others, and certainly not in this setting.
Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, last week sent a letter to a London-based lawyer who represents Mr. Deripaska and asked if Christopher Steele, was employed either directly or indirectly by Oleg Deripaska at the time he was writing the so-called Steele dossier. Do you know if Christopher Steele worked for Oleg Deripaska?
That's not something I can answer.
Could we discuss it in a classified setting?
There might be more we could say there.
Thank you.
Stop.
And maybe we'll hear back from...
Wow. Wow, there might be more we can talk about there. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm just going to say this real quick, and then I'm going to shut up. This is from a video, and I was watching the video. The guy who was answering Senator Cotton, he had such a smug look on his face. Maybe we could discuss this more. In
the FBI director, Christopher Wray. So here we go. First of all, Tom Cotton bringing up new names for us to research, bringing up new names for the general public to say, okay, who is Oleg Deripaska? Old Oleg. Oleg Deripaska. Get familiar with that name. Hearing that soon. What do you think? Oleg Deripaska, a Russian oligarch billionaire, okay, who actually, allegedly was employing Christopher Steele. So what does that mean? If that is true, and Oleg Deripaska was employing, who's a Russian billionaire employing Christopher Steele, and Christopher Steele is the former MI6 spook. Can you call an MI6 person a spook, or is that just reserved for the CIA people? Anyway, you got this former MI6 guy who's writing this dossier. It's completely false. It's salacious and everything else. And then, I mean, what does that say? That he was being paid by the Russians to do that? Is that the real Russian collusion? And I think we all know. I mean, you talk about projection and deflection. Okay, this is pretty revealing. Senator Tom Cotton asked a question. Oleg Deripaska. Oh, who else is Oleg Deripaska? Well, if you go over to WikiLeaks, okay, you go over to WikiLeaks. By the way, the left used to hate WikiLeaks. Or I'm sorry, the left used to love WikiLeaks. And then, of course, when WikiLeaks dumped all the documents that were critical of John Podesta or the Podesta emails and Hillary Clinton, now the left hates WikiLeaks. I guess you could argue that there are people on the right who've always, not liked WikiLeaks. But I, for one, am glad that WikiLeaks, I think a lot of people on the right are glad WikiLeaks is just, putting out, I'd rather information than less information at this point. Because there's just, especially now, there's just so much institutional corruption. We can't trust our own government, folks. Which, all the way back to the 18th century, has been a very healthy American attitude, skepticism. So, look at this, though, from WikiLeaks email about John McCain, Senator John McCain, who we still are not clear about Senator John McCain and what happened with the dossier. What role did he play in the dossier, delivering it to the FBI? Some people now are saying he delivered it to the FBI after the FBI already knew about the dossier. It's kind of confusing. But this is an email about McCain's 70th birthday bash with Russian tycoon. Okay, and you read that back during 2008 in, what was this, McCain's 70th birthday, make political hay out of the conviction of Chicago tycoon Tony Rezko. So this was in 2008 when he was running for president, and he had a 70th birthday bash on a yacht, and it was Mr. Oleg Deripaska's boat. The host for McCain's yacht party off the coast of the Republic of Montenegro was, according to WMR sources with close links to the Republican Party, Oleg Deripaska, one of Russia's most powerful tycoons who made his billions in cornering Russia's aluminum market in the 1990s. The 40-year-old Deripaska is also politically connected, having married the daughter of Russia's late president, Boris Yeltsin. Unlike most other Russian tycoons who now live in exile abroad and are protected by Israeli passports, Deripaska maintains close relationships to Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin and another Russian tycoon, Roman Abramovich or whatever. Anyway, so that's just more information. All I'm saying is, it's just really good. Senator Tom Cotton, who is Oleg Deripaska, and now all of us can go and start looking up who Oleg Deripaska is, and this is one of the little rabbit trails where that you're led down. So, hey, folks, coming up at 7:33, we're going to be talking Mr. Hunter Rivet. He was on, I guess, what was he on, Monday or Tuesday? He'll be calling in again just because we're going to talk more about this special election out of Russellville in District 16 and everything that means. The runoff that's coming up on March the 13th. Mark your calendars between Bob Bailey and establishment candidate Ace's Choice Breanne Davis. It's sure to be a very interesting race. We'll see what happens. People are already organizing and trying to get a handle on where to go from here. This is a big deal that we're headed to this runoff. Now, so we'll talk to him about that, and we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk just a little bit. I don't get into sports very often, but this is a sports legal case. We have Arkansas State University threatening to sue the University of Miami over a football game. Well, not really. I mean, not one that actually happened anyway. We'll be back in just a moment.
In Arkansas, every single hour there is a politician not getting what they want. For some, it's an absolute nightmare. The sleepless nights wondering if progress will ever come. Lying awake pondering how to grow government in this political climate. Asking questions like, why don't my constituents want to pay a few cents more in taxes? Everyday politicians feel abused and neglected. These politicians are starving for power. They're hungry, confused, and they don't understand why no one seems to care. Will you be a patriot and commit today to help these poor, starved for power public officials? All you have to do is commit to stay silent and never dissent or stand in the way of your politicians' rise to power. Never speak up or get engaged in the growth of government. By committing to these simple steps, you will ensure the life of your politician will be filled with contentment and the respect they are desperately seeking, as well as campaign contributions from lobbyists.
This message brought to you by Aristocrats Serving Arkansas.
PHP.
Exposing the truth and everything the Marble Palace establishment keep trying to cover up. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
So have you heard about this? Have you heard that the University of Miami Hurricanes, this past September, they were supposed to come to Jonesboro, and they were supposed to play Arkansas State in a game that was anticipated for years around Northeast Arkansas. But Mother Nature had other plans because Hurricane Irma was barreling towards Miami, Category 5, and got people pretty upset, pretty worried. Okay. The problem is that Jonesboro's 1,000 miles away from that hurricane. At the time, I mean, Arkansas is a long ways away. Actually, it's a safe place. And so the game was canceled for some reason. And the reasons given were, we want families, we want the players to be able to go and be with their families and that sort of thing. So the game, you would think, okay, it needs to be rescheduled. But would you believe the dates that the University of Miami is giving is something like 2024? So like the original contract would like extend past a decade. So they don't want to play in 2021 or something like that. So I guess the legal team of Arkansas State has got involved, and now they're saying that they're going to sue for $650,000 because that's the damages they're owed according to the original contract. Well, so this has the Miami Herald. They're now writing pieces like this. This is Greg Cote. Hurricanes family first decision is worth defending in court, even if it costs them $650,000. This is interesting story to me because, number one, I've said this a bunch. I'm not a lawyer, but I really like to look into legal disputes and legal cases. It's just a kind of a hobby of mine. Go to the other one. This was the one from February 12th. Arkansas State to University of Miami football pay up the $650,000 are prepared to be sued. And here's the basis of that, which is this letter that you see from the Arkansas State University system from attorney Brad Phelps to the University of Miami attorney James Rowley. And we get in here. Let's just take this letter. This kind of lays everything out and all the disputes that Arkansas State has here. And again, they're trying to recuperate $650,000. As we discussed, the University of Miami agreed to play a football game in Jonesboro against Arkansas State. This game was part of a 2-game series and was governed by the attached contract. The first game of the contract took place on September 13th, 2014 in Miami, Florida. Arkansas State University appeared in Miami, and the game was played. The second and final game of the contract was scheduled to take place on September 9th, 2017 in Jonesboro. On September 6th, the director of athletics of the University of Miami, Blake James, informed Terry Mahajer, the director of intercollegiate athletics at Arkansas State, that the University of Miami would not appear in Jonesboro to play the game. The reason given by Mr. James was that the return trip home would be difficult, given the fact that a hurricane was scheduled to strike Miami, Florida area on the weekend of September 9th. Mr. James did not dispute that Miami's football team could travel to Jonesboro. Understanding Miami's concerns, Mr. Mahajer made numerous good faith efforts to accommodate Miami, such as assuring Miami that their football team and staff could remain in Jonesboro after the game, stay in local hotels, make use of the university's indoor football practice facility. In addition, Arkansas State worked with conference officials as well as the ESPN television network to move the game to Friday evening further instead of Saturday. Further, when Mr. James raised questions about Miami's ability to travel and concerns about contractual obligations with air carriers, Mr. Mahajer offered to pay $86,000 for the entire Miami team and staff to fly from Miami to Memphis on a separate air charter service to ensure that Miami could travel safely to Jonesboro, and Miami's contractual obligations with other air carriers were not impacted. Despite these offers, accommodations, and a number of other unilateral efforts on behalf of Arkansas State, Miami refused to appear. This refusal caused Arkansas State, the community of Jonesboro, and others significant harm. I mean, I can't tell you how excited people were for this game, as somebody who lives in Jonesboro. But it is whatever. I mean, but the idea of harm or damage is, hotels, restaurants, everything. So at the end of 2017, Arkansas State Chancellor Dr. Kelly Damphouse reached out to Miami to discuss resolving the matter of the canceled game. Afterwards, Mr. Mahajer once again contacted Mr. James to reschedule the game. And essentially what it says, folks, is they're giving us dates of 2024, 2025, 2026, or 2028. Mr. Hodger explained that those dates were not workable for and would be detrimental to Arkansas State, and that two-game agreements never stretch out over a decade. At the time of these discussions, Mr. Hodger consulted a scheduling service which revealed that Miami had openings in 2020 and 2021. Miami's saying no. So Miami's trying to say that under the contract, the hurricane constitutes as a disaster, but essentially Arkansas State's saying, well, we moved the game to Friday, and by the way, it's 1,000 miles. Your team is not in harm. You're 1,000 miles away from the hurricane. So on a legal standing, I think it's an open and shut case. in terms of they should pay up $650,000. I don't know. What do you guys think? People are trying to say that it's greedy or whatever else. I don't buy that. I mean, it's the contract's what the contract says. So, pay up. But, who knows? We will see. Listen to this. Scrolling down here. As a result of Miami choosing not to appear, Arkansas State suffered significant disruption and damages. Although Miami's failure to appear was a material breach of the contract, Arkansas State University still made numerous attempts to work amicably with Miami to reschedule the game instead of pursuing damages under the contract. Upon information and belief, Miami has satisfied its home game requirements and still has availability to play Arkansas State in 2020 or 2021. Based on information conveyed by Miami, it's not a matter of Miami's inability to schedule a game against Arkansas State in a reasonable time frame, but rather it is Miami's unwillingness to play Arkansas State because it would prefer to schedule a team from the FCS. Because Miami has demonstrated that it is unwilling to reschedule the game within a reasonable time frame, despite having the ability to do so, Arkansas State is left with no choice other than to seek damages for Miami's breach. When this contract was executed, all parties agreed that if one party did not appear, the other party would receive a liquidated damages payment of $650,000. Now, I am told that this will Arkansas State's releasing a statement on Monday or something about what they're going to do moving forward. But, it ends that they're going to basically, if they don't hear from them, they're gonna file a lawsuit in the appropriate Arkansas State court. And that is in a letter from the general counsel from the Arkansas State University system, Brad Phelps. Anyway, that is the news on that, the hurricane. And, I don't know, just pretty interesting, fascinating stuff to me. Yeah, isn't that weird? That it was a hurricane. There's a little it's a pretty cool coincidence if you think about it. Not that the hurricane was cool, but you'd understand that the hurricanes, didn't travel because of a hurricane. It'd be like Arkansas State not going somewhere because there was like an outbreak of wolves that just started attacking people. Okay, we're going to be talking to Mr. Hunter Rivet when we come back. This headline, real quick before we leave, the plant board, Jacob Rosenberg, Arkansas Times, plant board's hemp regulations are delayed by questions from governor and a visit from the DEA. This is very interesting. There's a specific point in this article where they say that the governor did not request the DEA to come, but the DEA, the federal agency, came down and asked questions about Arkansas's hemp policy, and so some of this stuff is put on hold. Let's see, unless governor is convinced that the DEA does not have the authority to interfere with our industrial hemp research pilot program, the rules will not be signed off on, and the program will not get started this year. Hutchinson issued a statement confirming that he met with Walker, but said he was simply doing his due diligence on a new program. I met with Director Walker to discuss the issue, and I was not satisfied with the level of information I received. That is why I requested additional facts. This is about having answers to valid questions before moving forward with any decisions on hemp regulations. I don't know this, but I have a feeling, does this have anything to do with Jeff Sessions, who came out and said, kind of against the whole medical marijuana thing and the states bucking the federal government? Back in just a moment. What does public really mean?
Well, that's the thing, exactly. Now, we use the term public in some of the documents to describe a government-owned entity, as in our restriction in government buildings. They call those public buildings, public parking lots. So in that case, public means a government building. Well, if there's a government building that's serving alcohol, well, if you have the regular permit, you can't even go into the building, period. So it don't matter whether they're serving alcohol or not. Now, the enhanced permit increased the chances that you can go into a government facility. However, if the people that are in charge there decide they don't want you in there because they're serving alcohol, can just simply put up a sign and keep you from going in there, simply because of the alcohol sales alone.
I'm trying to figure out.
But this goes back to the whole. This goes back to the whole thing of how people look at alcohol and firearms don't mix, which most sane person would agree with that. However, the thought process is, if you're drinking, you must be drinking to inebriation, so you shouldn't have a gun, which is kind of far-fetched.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that as well. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out this scenario. Nothing is ever what it seems, and so, I mean, I know the letter was from Bill Sample. I guess he had concerns about this. Is that what it was? I mean, I'm trying to figure out what specific scenario are they that is probably entirely hypothetical. Are they trying to prevent from happening?
Well, I would love to be able to pick his ear and see what he meant, but I'm assuming they're looking to try to keep alcohol and firearms separate somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm. So anyway,
I'm gonna go further, Paul.
Okay.
Even college students that have their enhanced got to have their weapon within arm's reach at all times. So what it means is, if you're a college student, you're over 21, you have your enhanced carry, you really can't have your weapon in the dorm room.
Mm-hmm.
So for every privilege that the enhanced grants, they wrote in an exception. And I think all they're doing with this is just furthering those exceptions by saying public and private buildings. I think this is just basically saying, you know what, enhanced means nothing. And I think it's intentional.
Now that's interesting. So you're bringing up this was the whole intent of Charlie Collins' original bill was college campuses, and you're saying essentially what they're now trying to do is, okay, well, we'll let the professors carry if they get the enhanced, but not only that, because this is what they tried. They said it's not just professors; it's anybody who gets their enhanced will be able to carry. So you're saying though that the colleges and everything are so triggered by even the possibility of that happening that now we have we're now advancing as many exceptions as we can. I mean, that is the complete opposite of what they originally said.
Machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
All right, welcome back to the program from earlier in the week. It was a great interview. We've got Mr. Hunter Rivet back with us. Hunter, how you doing, sir? Good morning.
Good morning to you guys. How are y'all doing?
Doing good. Hey, Joe told us just now, Joe, our board op, he was just like that your interview from a couple days ago was, quote, riveting.
I'll tell you how many times I've heard that one.
Oh, gosh. Man, I bet you have. Okay, so talk to us, Hunter. First of all, just your general thoughts. Okay, election day. You've been on the ground for Senate District 16 in this race that's now heading to a runoff between non-establishment Bob Bailey and establishment Breanne Davis. So, based on that, how did things go from where you were on Tuesday?
Well, we divvied up on Tuesday night so we could get some early precinct results. And when we figured those out, we all met up at our watch party, and we were keeping a close eye on everything. And by 11 or 12, we had our idea of what was going on, and we knew that we'd be in a runoff. So from then, we decided we ought to get sleep sometime.
Mm-hmm.
And then we met the next day and got a battle plan going on.
Well, it's extremely significant, this race, and it's not just it's not just me that's interested. I mean, the Marble Palace establishment is very interested in as well, and I really believe that if the people are given the truth, that they're going to make different decisions, and there's no telling how many. Because of the work you guys are doing, there's no telling how many minds that we've changed to kind of say, hey, wait a second. What's going on in Little Rock is not a good thing right now. We got to have more people who understand, this concept of limited government and getting spending under control, and that not just, trying to preach it on campaign, on the campaign. I mean, for example, there's in some cases, I saw a mailer for Breanne Davis, right? And it was a mailer that came out, and she was it said, "I'm pro Second Amendment," and on the back it was a picture of people duck hunting. And
right.
I mean, come on, like that's what are we doing? That's and that's exactly what Asa does. Anytime he has a Second Amendment commercial, it's a him in the woods hunting. It's not about the reason, real reason we have the Second Amendment. Go ahead.
Yes, it's a very sad moment whenever who claims to be pro-Second Amendment chooses a reason for which the Second Amendment was not made for. The Second Amendment was made so that we may protect ourselves and our families from whether it be a tyrannical government, the one in which we fought in the 1770s and 1780s, or from a band of marauders or a criminal. While we certainly use the right to hunt and to be sportsmen and women, that is not why it was made.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we all know what a cop-out that is. To show a picture of someone duck hunting, what are we going to suffer? A quack attack? Are we supposed to defend ourselves from the ducks?
Yeah.
That's not what the Second Amendment is about.
Yeah, it's it just kind of reminds you. I mean, and I hate to. I mean, I'm just being honest here. There was a lot of quote pro Second Amendment, and there always has been. There still are a lot of pro Second Amendment end quote Democrats, and they tend to focus on the gun culture and the hunting aspect, and not as much of the what's the real reason that we have this this right. But I mean that's just one thing of many really. But the what are you guys planning going forward? I mean, we have 4 weeks until March the 13th. Mark your calendars. It's going to be a big deal for the folks of District 16 in Pope County and the other counties as well, Newton County. So what are you guys doing going forward?
Well, Paul, let me just say this real fast. In the countries where you have the hardest gun control...
Hang on, Hunter. We're kind of losing your connection. Make sure that you're speaking like right into the microphone of your phone, please.
Paul, can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but it's still not a great connection. We may want to reset the connection actually. Let's try one more time, Hunter. Go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Let's just do me a favor, Hunter. We're going to hang up. You call right back, and we'll see if we can't get a better connection because it's just a little bad. And the issue here is that we go out with the this goes out over the affiliates, and we just don't want to give them bad phone and audio quality. But on this District 16 race, what's going to happen? What are they going to do? There's so many questions. Are we going to have the same turnout for this runoff that we had the last time? Are we going to have as much enthusiasm for the people that voted for Brianne? Maybe some people voted out of a sense of loyalty and things like that. Are they going to do that the second time? Is there going to be? Here's the real question: How much new information can we get to people that is going to change who they voted for the last time? Is that a possibility? Is that possible? We're back now with Hunter Rivet calling in. Hunter, welcome.
Hey, sorry about that, Paul.
Yes, no problem. I mean, cell phone technology is what it is. What were you saying? You said, let me just say one thing first.
Right. In countries where we have the hardest gun control legislation, do you know how they started it? They said, well, you'll get to keep your hunting rifles and shotguns. And from there, of course, we know the rest of the story. But let me talk about our plans, like you said, to let people know how establishment, how set in stone, how set in the marble rock the opposition is. And we of course, you've got to follow the money. Who is ASA giving money to? Of course, we all know that answer. And how much? Well, I really hope people can find us on Facebook. And, hey, Paul, we made a Twitter and Instagram last night.
Okay,
so we're expecting to those things. But, of course, you can find that nice little diagram you guys made of who is funding the opposition. And I think people will certainly be enlightened to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what essentially is happening is you have every special interest group in the state trying to buy a Senate seat. And that's what's really going on here. It is the status quo, the monolith of big business and lobbyists that are trying to buy a Senate seat in District 16. And the person that they chose, Brianne Davis, I really don't think that's just my opinion. I don't necessarily think she maybe knows what she's getting into. Maybe she does, but there's a lot of people that know her, and that's great. But that just because you know her does not mean she's going to make a good politician. You know what I mean? I mean, we saw this for years with the Democrats asking for our vote because they were our Sunday school teacher. Hey, I'm your Sunday school teacher. Well, yeah, but you're a Democrat. And see, now we have a harder task because everybody knows if you want to get elected, you have to be a Republican. And so we don't have that distinction anymore. So we have to figure out, well, are you a conservative or are you a progressive liberal that's going to go along with the status quo?
Well, Paul, the very unfortunate and sad thing is many of these people claiming to be Republicans are, in fact, Democrats.
Yeah. That is unfortunate. I think they saw the ship the ship was kind of sinking, and so a lot of them kind of bailed off of that ship, because they wanted the political power.
Let me say this about the opposition. She is funded by these, for instance, Big Pharma and all these other big lobbying groups because they know, Paul, that Bob will not stand up for them. He will stand up for the people. And that is the big difference. The oppositional answer to the moneyed interest and the landed elite, not Bob. He is perhaps one of the freshest anti-establishment candidates that Arkansas has seen in a long time.
Well, it was a pleasure getting to meet him, and honestly, I look forward to going up there again. I mean, now that we have to do this all over again. I was asked the other day, what's the campaign feeling? And I was just like, well, right now everybody's resetting and getting some sleep because you guys were working so hard to get that message out. But yeah, it was refreshing. He is anti-establishment, and I think he is just going to, I think he's going to think for himself. I think his principles are solid, and I mean the truth of the matter is, folks, when you look at what we're facing, we're fighting the establishment Republicans, we're fighting the Democrats, and we're fighting the mainstream media. And I will expect in the next 4 weeks, Asa to use his influence in the mainstream media to try to attack Bob Bailey again.
He will, but we're ready for the very fake news. And, I mean, we saw last time with their drive-by hit piece what a fail that was. What a big nothing burger that truly was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, they will do anything, Hunter. I mean, they took they took a video of me doing a live broadcast where I made a funny joke about Breanne Davis's tent in the parking lot looking abandoned and looking like somewhere a homeless person would live. That was my remark. And people said, "You're making fun of homeless people." And they took that video, they put it out there with the social justice warriors supporting Breanne, and it went in. All these people started commenting on it and talking about what a miserable human being I was and everything else. And it was just like, okay, so all they can do is play the victim, but they're going to try everything they can, and they'll do anything they can to.
Paul,
yeah, go ahead.
The left doesn't joke. They're not funny. They are offended by everything, and you cannot make just a little joke. You can't have fun because they will be offended and they will call you a racist, a sexist, or a bigot.
Yeah.
And I could not imagine.
So we're losing you, Hunter, again. But you're breaking up. I don't know if you can move to a better location. But I will say this. Breanne Davis got another tent. That's what's so hilarious about this is that. She got a new tent after we posted that video, and then of course they took it and they edited it down. They edited it to actually make it look like that I was that Bob Bailey was responsible for that comment, which he wasn't. And it's just really strange how they selectively edited and then pushed that out there. And that's not at all. I mean, we're talking about. The reason it was news, and I later said this in another video, is because Asa has given her all this money, and yet the organization was just so poor. Now, we saw what the turnout was. It was high, and we saw that it's essentially a tie. But no one got to 51%, so we head to a runoff. Go ahead, Hunter, see if we can hear you a little better.
The organization on their side was bad. They had a bad ground game, and you could see that up to Election Day. So, Paul, that is going to be our plan, to hit the ground running, to hit the ground hard, to meet people, to shake hands, to get to know what's really on their mind, and to let people know that Bob is the anti-Big Little Rock, anti-big government, anti-big establishment candidate. And insofar, we're starting today. You will probably, if you're in Russellville, you may be able to run into one of us. Who knows? It'll be a good time, and we hope to make contact with you and get to know you a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, best of luck to you guys. Keep us posted, and I'm sure, as we get closer. So let me ask you this, Hunter. Will there be an early voting? Because it's a runoff, will there also be another week of early voting?
Yes, there will be early voting. Please go to the Secretary of State website to find your location and time.
Okay. All right, Hunter Rivet, we appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much. You guys have a great morning.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. What do we have? We got some Facebook comments I'll get into. We're going to go to break. We're going to be back in just a moment. You're listening to Conduit News Radio. I'm Paul Harrell.
Protecting your business means protecting your data. But is your business really prepared to handle the growing threat of things like cybercriminals and ransomware? At iTex, they're committed to deploying the best security solutions to protect your business and your bottom line. Security threats are constantly evolving. So are security needs. Be proactive now and equip your business with the best cybersecurity available with iTex. Call them today for a free consultation at 870-336-9778. That's 870-336-9778 or itexusa.com. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
You guys remember Cheryl Atkinson? Cheryl Atkinson, former CBS reporter. She did a lot of investigative journalism in the Obama administration, specifically around Fast and Furious and that gun running scheme. You remember her? Cheryl Atkinson explains the origins of the 2016 fake news narrative in a TED Talks, or a TEDx talk. This is fascinating to me. Cheryl Atkinson was spied on. Cheryl Atkinson, her computer would turn on, in the middle of the night, and she was spied on by the government. There are computer forensic analysts that made those accusations, but I think we now know with what we know about Trump, with him being spied on, with the Obama administration and everything else, they would stop at nothing because Fast and Furious was bad. I mean, Fast and Furious, they had this gun running scam, if you remember it, and it was we had Americans that were killed with guns that we allowed to go. Anyway, it's a lot more complicated than that, but anyway. He had one of the Fast and Furious guns wind up in Paris, by the way, one of those massacres. Listen to this. In a TEDx talk at the University of Nevada a couple of weeks ago, investigative journalist Cheryl Atkinson revealed the origins of the fake news narrative that was aggressively pushed by the liberal media and Democrat politicians during the 2016 election, and how it was later flipped by President Donald Trump. I've never actually heard anyone else say this but me. But it was, I was watching it. All of a sudden, the Democrats were fake news, and then Donald Trump came out, co-opted it, and then we started using fake news. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. This happened many times on other issues where Trump had the ability, I don't know how, but he had the ability to just flip whatever the media was doing and turn it right back on them, and he still has that ability. It was unbelievable. I will never see anything like it politically in my lifetime again. I really believe that. Atkinson pointed out that fake news in the form of tabloid journalism and false media narratives has always been around under different names. But she noticed in 2016 there seemed to be a concerted effort by the mainstream media to focus America's attention on the idea of fake news in conservative media. That looked like a propaganda effort to Atkinson, so she did a little digging and traced the news spin to a little nonprofit called First Draft, which she said appears to be the very first to use fake news in its modern context. On September 13th, 2016, First Draft announced a partnership to tackle malicious hoaxes and fake news reports. Atkinson explained, quote, the goal was supposedly to separate wheat from chaff, to prevent unproven conspiracy talk from figuring prominently in internet searches, to relegate today's version of the alien baby stories to a special internet oblivion. She noted that a month later, then President Obama chimed in, quote, he insisted in a speech that he too thought somebody needed to step in and curate information of this wild, wild west media environment, she said, pointing out that nobody in the public had been clamoring for any such thing. None of us were clamoring for that, but that's what the elites wanted us to do. And that's what we see politicians in Arkansas want to control the media. We see them use the media to attack Bob Bailey, stuff like that. Yet, suddenly, the subject of fake news was dominating headlines all over America as if the media had received its marching orders, she recounted. Fake news, remember, this is a CBS journalist, former CBS journalist who was spied on by the Obama administration. Fake news, they said, was an imminent threat to American democracy. Atkinson, who has studied the manipulative, moneyed interests behind media industry, said few themes arise in our environment organically. She noted that she always found it helpful to follow the money. What if the whole fake news campaign was an effort on somebody's part, she said, to keep us from seeing or believing certain websites and stories by controversializing them or labeling them as fake news? Digging deeper, she discovered that Google was one of the big donors behind First Draft's fake news messaging. Google's parent company, she pointed out, is owned by Eric Schmidt, who happened to be a huge Hillary Clinton supporter. By the way, Schmidt stepped down as owner of Google a little while ago. Schmidt offered himself up as a campaign advisor and became a top multi-million-dollar donor to do it. His company funded First Draft as the start of the election cycle, Atkinson said. Not surprisingly, Hillary was soon to jump aboard the fake news train, and her surrogate, David Brock of Media Matters, privately told donors that he was the one who told Facebook to join the effort. Atkinson declared that the whole thing smacked of the rollout of a propaganda campaign. But something happened that nobody expected, she said. The anti-fake news campaign backfired. Each time advocates cried fake news, Donald Trump called them fake news, until he co-opted the term so completely that even those who were originally promoting it started running from it, including the Washington Post, which she noted later backed away from using the term fake news. Atkinson called Trump's accomplishment a hostile takeover of the term and cautioned people to always be wary of powerful interests trying to manipulate their opinions. She described 2 warning signs to look out for. Number 1, when the media tries to shape or censor facts and opinions rather than report them. Number 2, when so many in the media are reporting the same stories, the same narratives, relying on the same sources, even using the same phrases. There you go. Atkinson pointed out that there's an infinite number of ways to report stories, so when everyone is on the same page, it might be part of an organized campaign. She warned the audience about the latest effort to quell speech through something called media literacy, where elite liberals tell everyone else who they should trust. She said media literacy advocates are busy trying to get state laws passed to require that their version of media literacy be taught in public schools. What's more, they're developing websites and partnering with universities. She warned that these people have their own agendas and want to tell you what to believe. When interests are working this hard, she said, to shape your opinion, their true goal just might be to add another layer between you and the truth. That's Cheryl Atkinson, who was spied on by the Obama administration when she was trying to report on the Fast and Furious scandal. This is a story with plenty of quotes from Cheryl Atkinson in it by Deborah Heaney, and it's over at pjmedia.com. So, fake news, I mean, that term was co-opted for sure by the president. It was flipped on its head, and I always knew that, and I was just great to see somebody, actually conceptualize that, right? And speaking of government propaganda, I want to remind you that the Arkansas Works assessment that has come out, that is from the governor's office, the impact of Arkansas Works on the state's economy and the state budget, is propaganda. They are trying to get you to think that ending the largest expansion of government in Arkansas history is going to cost us money, when they admitted that the smaller the program is, the more money we save. These guys are saying it's going to impact the economy $2 billion. It's not the whole economy. If they are right about that, it's not the whole economy. They're just worried about the political donations to their campaigns, the lobbyists who make money off of keeping the program, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield who funds it all. Let's not make, this is what, how does that affect the average Arkansan when we're just funneling money to Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and making them rich? If they are correct, and this is what you need to know, folks, if these guys are correct, we should put everybody on Medicaid and be prosperous and just become an Arkansas utopia. And I'm dead serious about that. They are asking you to believe that if we get rid of a program whose sole purpose is to give away stuff for free that costs taxpayer money, we're going to lose money. That doesn't make any sense unless, and if they're right, which they're not, but if they're right, we should put everybody on Medicaid and give everybody stuff for free, and so we'd be prosperous, which we wouldn't do that, right? That would be total socialism. Well, that's what this program is. It's socialism. Why are Republicans, and as you're driving to the Marble Palace, think about this, why are Republicans fighting tooth and nail to keep a socialist health care program in Arkansas that was brought to us by a socialist president, Barack Obama? We'll see you tomorrow for Johnny Cash Friday. Be safe, Arkansas.